One of the best things that you can do if you're in charge or you're directing a particular project or production is be a vocal leader. And what I mean by that is you have to constantly be communicating with authority to the talent, to your crew, to the producers, to the client, to whoever is expecting you to be talking to them. And the reason for that is because oftentimes it can be really easy to be caught up in the moment with a particular problem or a technical issue, or you're focused on one little thing. And oftentimes I found myself in those situations, I go a little bit quiet. I'm focused on that problem. And so everything else kind of becomes secondary, right? It's background. I don't want to deal with it. But what can happen in those situations is when I go silent, everyone else is looking to me for input because things have to keep moving forward, and I'm not telling them what to do. I'm not giving feedback of what looks good, what looks bad, assuring the client that things are going well and it's just a minor hiccup. There's a lot of communication that needs to happen, especially from the person who's in charge, who's leading it. And it's very valuable to have that person speak out a little bit more than I think some people might be comfortable with. I think a lot of people are trained to not necessarily being submissive, but not speaking it out because they don't want to cause a stir. And you certainly don't want a situation where everyone is at that same volume or that same level, because then it's chaos, right? They don't know who to listen to. But if you're that person that's in charge, you have to take control and delegate. You have to tell people what you expect them to do, when you want it done. These things that may seem foreign to most people, when people are in charge, they have to take that responsibility on. What I've seen in my past is that when I used to do photography and I was the photographer, just doing little shoots here and there, I often wouldn't want to be that stereotypical photographer of like, oh yeah, that's great, great job. Oh, beautiful. It looks wonderful. And so instead of doing that, I wouldn't say anything because I didn't want to be comical. I didn't want to be a cliche. It felt kind of cheesy to me. And so I would just take really good photos and I wouldn't give much feedback other than, okay, move your hand this way or do some little minor critiquing. But what I found was that when people are on the other side of the camera, they need to be told what to do because they have no idea. Unless they're a really professionally trained model or actor, they need your input. They need you to guide them. And your job, if you're running the camera at the same time, is to communicate and be that vocal leader. Now, it's a lot easier if you're not running the camera, if you can just focus on that. But oftentimes productions, especially with smaller budgets, the crew is limited. And so often those responsibilities fall on the same person. And that's the situation I've been in the past. It happens from time to time now as well. But it's always different situations. But whoever is the leader has to speak loud and with authority. And oftentimes it can be something like, for going back to the photographer example, is telling the model to do something that you're not really sure if it's going to work or not, but you're speaking as if it's going to work. You're confident that it's going to work, and they listen, they do what you say. They might give you a funny face like, "That really? That's what you want me to do?" But you say, yeah, put your hand on your hip this way, turn your leg that way, and then tip your chin this way, or however, whatever the direction is, right? Not saying that that's going to look good, but just, some example, you tell them to do something, and if it works, great, awesome. Give your natural response. If it doesn't, you still have to fake as if it was good, and if, maybe you can even play around with it and joke around and be like, oh no, never mind. That was bad. My bad. But then you get right to the next thing and you coach them into the next thing. You never stop talking. You keep going through it. Now with video, when you have scenes to record or there's interviews to record, obviously you can't be constantly talking, but in those downtimes where you're waiting to go to the next thing or someone needs that kind of feedback, you need to positive reinforcement is always good. So saying good job, great job, keep it up, awesome. Like people need to hear that. They need to hear what to do with their hands, what to do with their legs, what to do with their shoulders. People want to feel confident on camera, and the best way to give that to them is for you to be confident with your instructions. And sometimes you'll have no idea what you're talking about. It'll be a new project. At some point, everyone's got a project where it's their first time doing that sort of thing. And even in those situations, you have to fake it. You have to be the most confident person you can be and just give direction. And if it works, great. And hopefully you've done some research, you've educated yourself, you kind of know what's going to work in that particular situation. But you go in strong because if you're in charge, that's what people expect. They don't want to follow a weak leader or someone who's not sure or who doesn't quite know, because then it just turns into chaos. Other people start stepping in, offering their suggestions, and then it becomes this too many cooks in the kitchen situation. And you want to avoid all of that. So the best thing you can do is be that vocal leader who's speaking with authority and telling people. It seems kind of dictatorial, like you're a dictator of just barking orders at people. And obviously you do it nicely. You don't yell at people and scream at them and you just shout commands, but you do need to focus people on what they're supposed to be doing, whether that's the talent, whether that's reassuring a producer or the client, or telling your crew, hey, go take care of this because I need to focus on this other thing. People are pretty receptive to following leaders, and they want leaders to give them orders. And if you do it nicely and do it confidently, I don't think anyone's going to criticize you for that.